Hi, my name is Martin Geitz. I'm President and CEO of Simsbury Bank, and I'm delighted to welcome you today to our second Manufacturing Matters podcast. I'm joined again today by Dr. Jim Lombella, who is president of Asnuntuck and Tunxus Community Colleges, Chris Holm, who is with Mott Corporation in Farmington, and Joe Vrabely, who is owner and president of Atlantic Steel and Processing in Waterbury. We're here today to continue a conversation about Connecticut's great manufacturing opportunities. We really need a holistic approach where we've got the educators, we've got the manufacturers, we've got parents and families and guidance counselors all engaged in understanding this. And I wonder if you could talk, maybe Jim, if you could talk a little bit more about, is there still a lot of opportunity to get a more holistic approach to this challenge we have to create a stronger manufacturing workforce?
Sure. One of the things that I'm actually doing is I'm hosting a manufacturing roundtable at Tunxus. And at this point, I believe we have 60, 80. I'm anticipating over 100 manufacturers in the room. And what we're going to do is we're going to have some serious conversations. I'm looking to build some advisory boards and build the model that we have in Enfield and what we've done with Asnuntuck to do that in the Farmington, Bristol, and in the center of the state. Also toured Bristol, or also toured Vinyl Tech recently as well, too, looking at that equipment. The state has a lot of these assets that we need to put to work, and they should be working until 10 o'clock at night, helping incumbent worker training, helping the unemployed individuals. We have to work, the educators and the manufacturers have to work together, design the skills, make sure it's the skills that they need, and then the magic happens. They get jobs, and they're flourishing, and it's helping our economy, and it just has this domino effect. So I think that is the direction that I'm looking to go in the next month, is bringing more manufacturers to the table and partnering with us.
And I'm glad that's, we're here discussing it today, because we're not going to move ahead without a holistic approach to this issue, because you have to have the private sector involved, but the public sector and the policymakers have to get involved. I mean, it's one thing to jump up and down to try to get votes, but when it comes to jobs and job creation and growing the economy, you really need to understand this. And I give the current administration some credit, to Jim's point, is that, a lot of money was put into education in Connecticut, whether it was technical education in the technical high schools or in higher ed through the community colleges. We set up some of these programs, and it did help, but we stopped short. We're not doing enough. I think once you get momentum, the ball will keep rolling. But, one of the areas that we want to talk about is benchmarking. And I think Connecticut has the platform. I mean, the technical high school system of 105 years old, several thousands of kids that are involved, 17 different schools. I think we have more trade technologies than we need. I think we should focus on fewer things. But obviously that's selfish. If I was talking to a hairdresser, which I don't need, they may disagree with me, but I think that our systems need to be leveraged. And when the only other state that has something close to us is Massachusetts, but they only have like a regional hub of technical education and then maybe a couple outlying schools. I mean, the longevity of our system, the staying power of our system, what advocacy we do have, we really are out in front, but we have a long way to go. And people say, well, how would you compare us to another state? And I would say you can't. If you want to compare us to Germany. Because in Germany, when you're a manufacturer, you are above scale. You are considered to be an elite person in the workforce. And that's because it's a culture. And, if I could afford to buy those type of cars, it's the best technology in the world. And part of it is, everybody wants to play in the NFL. Right now, everybody wants to be the governor. How many kids want to be in manufacturing? We need to drive that cultural shift that, listen, you go to college because your parents wanted you to, and you graduated with, what's the average, $45,000 of debt, and you're underemployed, and you can't pay the debt back, so you're living at home with your parents. Carl Icahn's buying, aftermarket auto part companies because he sees that we won't even be able to buy our own cars. We're going to have to car share. That's not right. We should be able to get educated, get a decent job, buy a house, buy a car. And our type of jobs in our industry, like Mott, myself, we provide those type of jobs. So a lot of it is you've got to get people like the DECD, the DOL, the private sector, the public sector, the policymakers. But I don't know, like you're here today, Simsbury Bank fostering this. I mean, this has got to take on a life of its own. And that's why I just don't see, unless you're a high-ranking legislator or the governor or vice governor that, really has a passion for education, it all kind of drops down into our silos.
Well, one of the things that, again, you've each touched on in some way is the importance of the people who influence our youth to take a particular career path. And Joe, with your company and Chris with yours, I'd be interested in your thoughts about, how do we do even more to influence the guidance counselors, influence the parents, that manufacturing can be a great career opportunity.
I think we have great opportunities to bring members of our communities, students, educators, into our environments and demonstrate what's going on, demonstrate what it takes to be successful here. We have put a lot of investment in our intern program, our cooperative student program, and where we have been successful in attracting students is to host faculty, to host families. We have our annual days with our employees, and we encourage them to bring their families. We have demonstrations, especially to their children, of what's going on. So, number one, the children can see their parents really feeling excited about what they do, and we want that to be infectious. And we really like to cultivate our own, because when their children are ready to join our workforce at any level, we want to give them that opportunity. But I think it's part of corporate citizenship, as well as selfishly making sure that our silos are filled. But we do have to establish this corporate citizenship amongst all of us, to your points, that we have to demonstrate the value of life in manufacturing. And it's not just the job, but it's the quality of life.
Joe?
I know in my area, and I agree with everything you said, it's kind of like self-preservation. I mean, to me, I used to say as a younger business owner that the most important asset you have is your customers. I still believe that's paramount, but the greatest asset you have is your human resource capital. And if you have good people and you take care of them financially and benefits and respect, they will take care of your customers. And so I have a self need to make sure that I'm backfilling the senior nature of my employees as they retire with youth, because if I don't have that, and I've always advocated, if you're not growing, you're shrinking, and if you're shrinking, you're not going to make it. And so I can't sit back and wait for somebody to do something for me. I have to get involved. And so I've gotten involved in education.
Sounded, with some of your comments earlier, Dr. Lambella, like you are doing things, as Nantucket and Tunxus are doing things today to regularly really institutionalize communication with guidance counselors, with students, with parents, and to show the opportunities that are available and the wonderful opportunities in manufacturing. I wonder if you could maybe expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's part of the community college mission, and part of my personal mission is to make sure that we're helping educate and creating self-sustaining tax-paying citizens and owning a home, just like you talked about, and so forth. I've often said that we need to do a Saks Fifth Avenue marketing campaign, for lack of a better term, and we really need to. One of the biggest impacts, I should say, is, do you all recall the Make It Here campaign and the commercials that were on TV recently, and the jet flying through the air? And it actually sparked interest with a lot of youngsters and with students and so forth. And we need to continue that, and we need to get on the platforms and the media that these young individuals are using. And they're using social media. They're looking at TV. It's not so much a flyer or a poster in the guidance office anymore like it was in my day and age. It truly is. If we're not reaching out and inspiring them and showing them robotics, and Chris, to your point, one of the things I'm going to be asking manufacturers about this month is how many of you in the room are willing to give tours of your modern manufacturing facilities? And we'll schedule tours with parents and guidance counselors and prospective students to go tour the facilities and tour your businesses, because once they get in there and they see, like I said, it's clean rooms, it's robotics, it's touch screens. I watch, and I've done these tours, students' eyes almost become saucers, and they open up and they're like, wow, this is not what I thought manufacturing was. So it's critical we have the tours. It's critical we have the experiential learning learning in the projects where they're actually welding a piece or they're designing it. Our philosophy always is, even with our students in the college, you design it in the classroom. You learn the CAD CAM, the blueprint reading, you design it, then you go to the production floor and you actually produce it. And that hands-on component, and we start off with the older machines so that they learn the foundation of CNC machining. And it's not just about being a button pusher, it's about learning how to troubleshoot, how to do critical thinking when the production line is down or the machine is down. So the students, we're trying to give them that whole piece. So it truly is educators, it's parents, it's a marketing campaign. We need to change the perception and get more people and youngsters interested in manufacturing. And also not just youngsters. We find, our average age is about 27 and a half years old. So we have a lot of workers that suddenly are finding themselves unemployed, and now they want to do a career change because they've heard about manufacturing. And we're doing those tours daily as Untuck as well, too. So we need to inspire at every level that we can.
Well, I think from a skills standpoint, we look for foundation skills, the types of skills that are coming out of our vocational schools, coming out of our community college programs. And, another piece that goes on top of that, which the schools are doing a very good job with, is bringing kids to us, students to us, transitioning professionals to us that have already recognized the importance of continuous learning. Because what we are doing today, we're going to be doing it differently 4 years from now. And those people that are adaptable, those people that, and this probably sounds strange to people when we talk about manufacturing, creativity. We want people that are licensed to be creative, that have already stepped through that. Oh, I have a great idea. Let me see if I can bring this to life. Because in our environments, in all of our environments, which are always continuous improvement, that creativity is going to manifest itself in a lot of business gains for us, whether it's process, new technology, whether it's new products. And so, in addition to those foundation technical skills, those critical thinking skills, the proficiencies in math, but another very key element to it is none of us operate in environments where people sit there and work alone. We always collaborate. So working in team building skills, team dynamics, people that enjoy that and have some of those experiences from their academic projects, that's worth their weight in gold to us.
And Chris, I'll echo everything you just said, and we hear it over and over again. It is communication skills. And one of the things we try and teach too is, and I've heard over and over, whether I'm sitting with a group of hospital employers or manufacturing employers, it's the soft skill set coming out of our next generations. That soft skill set is very important. Critical thinking, troubleshooting, it truly are the skill sets in math and English. And it just part of my mission is to make sure we're not saying that manufacturing is where students who are struggling need to go. And I've heard that theme for years and really just trying to change that perception.
Do you think that from a skills point of view, is there a general level of education that can lead you to a path to an eyelet manufacturing versus a metal stamping company versus a spring manufacturer? Is there?
Yeah, I think so. But to Chris's point, the number one thing that we look at is work ethic. It's does that person want to get up every day and be at work at 7 o'clock and want continuous improvement and wants to work in a team setting, doesn't have an attitude? We make an assumption that that's there. So let's say that, maybe 1 out of 10 isn't there. Once we get through that, general education knowledge in manufacturing, we're off and running.
Absolutely. And Joe, to your point, I just want to specify, as having the unique perspective of being a president over 2 colleges, Tunxis, the Farmington region, and as Nantucket, the Enfield region, I very much am taking your approach, and that's why I'm bringing manufacturers to the table, because as we design the manufacturing center for Tunxis, I want a spring machine in there, I want a bending machine, I want a stamping machine specific to that region.
One of the other perception issues I think that some people have anyway with the manufacturing industry is that it's predominantly male-dominated. Number one, do you think that perception is still out there? And if so, are there things that we should be doing or doing differently in order to make sure that people understand this is welcoming to everyone, men, women, and a diverse group of people?
Most definitely the perception is still out there. But here's the really good news. There are fantastic opportunities available. And we are aggressively always seeking to increase the number of women in our workforce. There is fantastic opportunities. The manufacturing industry is regrowing in its prominence with the types of opportunities available. And the women that I've been speaking with for internships, they're we still would like to see more women choosing the technology path for their careers. And we have to be part of encouraging that. But there's fantastic opportunities, and it's not the brutish, dirty work in a dark area covered with machine oil anymore. It's clean rooms. It's very sophisticated furnace systems in our case. It's quality control. It's um, prototype development. Um, the bottom line is we need motivated, creative people. And I think it's a wonderful place for men and women. But I think if the perception is it's a rough and tough and coarse environment, I think that's a perception of the past. It's not a reality for us right now.
And we're seeing that shift in education. I can tell you over the last 9 years, we've watched more females, more girls in manufacturing. We also bus in annually 200 high schoolers, females from area high schools. I believe 6 or 8 different high schools we bus in. And we put them through a manufacturing day or STEM day at as an Untuck. And so many of those individuals, it's amazing that they walk out of there saying, I now know I can go into manufacturing. And the big attraction for a lot of the female students, I'll be honest, is the welding and fabrication program that you just talked about. And really, I think it's because there is that element of creativity and of design, and it's almost artistic, some of the welding projects the students do. And I'm amazed when I look at some of the stuff that they create for sculptures and different things in welding. And so I have seen a shift, and I know at one point we were about 2 or 3% female in our programs, and now we're upwards of cresting 15% or more.
This has been a really encouraging conversation. I think one of the things in Connecticut is sometimes we're very clear on all of our challenges, and we can articulate those ad nauseum, but we sometimes don't focus enough on the advantages we have and the progress that we've been making. And what I've heard from the three of you today, who are all active in manufacturing in different ways and through your professions and your companies and the community college system, is a whole bunch of examples of real life things that are going on and are leading to us building the pipeline of manufacturing employees and candidates that we need as a state to take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. We have this great demand, and it sounds like a lot of work going on for supply. And as everyone also has noted, there's more work to be done. But this is truly a case where the glass is half full. We're making good progress, and to be a leader, in the country in education and building a pipeline is really quite remarkable, and something that can just help everyone feel better about and feel good about the progress that we're making in this regard. So I want to, I guess, give one last opportunity, though. We've touched on an awful lot of stuff this afternoon, from supply and demand and perception and skills and training. Was there anything that we missed, anything that anybody wants to add?
There's something I always have fun with this topic. I don't think we should forget the heritage and the richness of the state of Connecticut. The fifth state in the United States. To this day, every military button that goes on a uniform, infantryman officer, is made in Waterbury, Connecticut. Waterbury Button Company. It's a brass company. It's been around since the turn of the century. We made the first warship in Essex. We had the first woolen mill and the first steel mill in Connecticut. We made the first sewing machine here in 1846. We made the first clock. We made the first door locks, the mortise door locks. It's now Sergeant Lock, Abba Ossoloy in New Haven. In 1929, Fred Rentschler started UTC. It's been divvied up, but it's still headquarters here today. And most recently, in 1982, the first artificial heart was made in Connecticut. So we have a heritage here and a richness of people that like to make stuff. And that's, at the end of the day, the reason I love manufacturing is I don't want to just sit at a computer and be a day trader in the stock market. I want to watch something being made.
Jim?
Yeah, so some final thoughts really. As an educator and as a college president, it's so important for me to be aligning individuals where not only jobs are, but careers are. And I think we've all heard about individuals that I think you touched base on a little bit, Joe, when you said that individuals are getting degrees and then they can't find jobs and what they have degrees in and so forth. So it's so important for me to make sure that we're aligning those individuals. And I always say that they're more than jobs, they are careers. And having raised a family myself and having been, like I said, almost 20 years in the private sector in manufacturing, I understand, how it's composed, what it's made of. And the final thought really would be the cost of education. And I've done studies for several years now at Nuntuck, and I can tell you it costs us to educate a manufacturing student costs $16,000. We bring in tuition from that individual at $8,500. So for every student we enroll, we have to fill that gap of another almost $8,000 from state through appropriations, through our B&I training, being creative to generate our own revenue to do this. And that's where, and I agree with you, I could take my 300 population up right now to 500-600 students, but to bring another 300 students on, you do the math, another $8,000 a piece. I need some additional funding to make this happen, and I think that's where some of these partnerships need to take place. And I'm certainly in Hartford on a regular basis, making sure that our legislators are aware of this as well too. And like I said, I don't want to say the state has not been generous to us. Nuntuck, very generous. We've built a wonderful thing there. I think we can build more. I think we can do it quickly, but it's gonna take some funding to do that, and we're all aware of the fiscal challenges in the state too. So we've got a few dynamics going on here that are certainly at play. But just going back, I think a wonderful conversation, and I thank each of you today for the conversation, because I'm leaving here also inspired as well.
I want to thank the three of you very much for participating in this podcast today. This has been wonderful and educational. Simsbury Bank's interest in manufacturing, candidly, is that banks are nothing more than a reflection of the local economy. Being a local bank focused on Connecticut, we think strongly that the manufacturing opportunities that the state has are just terrific and enormous, and we want to do everything we can to support the manufacturing economy in the state of Connecticut, because it's going to help the economy and it's going to ultimately help us as a bank. So we want to be a great partner to all the folks who are working on this great challenge, and it's just terrific that we're already making great progress in the area. So again, thank you all very much, and see you soon.